Welcome back to Actionable Intelligence. I'm Eric Greitens. Well, in 2020, if you're a person of faith who's outspoken in your beliefs, you don't have to look around very long to find someone who's looking to censor you or even to close your church down. Look no further than California's decision to label religious services as non-essential. Well, at the same time, places like casinos, liquor stores, and marijuana dispensaries remained open. As you can imagine, this decision, and many like it, have ruffled the feathers of a lot of people around the country who believe in freedom of speech, who believe in freedom of assembly, and who believe in freedom of religion. One man in particular is standing up, and you'll probably recognize him. Actor and head of CamFam Studios, Kirk Cameron, joins us now. Kirk, thank you so much for joining us today. You know, you've been traveling around the country working with people of faith. I know you were just in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. What was your message and what was your experience there in Coeur d'Alene working with people of faith?
Well, Eric, thank you. We just finished a great big event with 6,000 people in a church in California called Non-Essential that was watched by over 7 million people. And on the heels of that, I went to Coeur d'Alene to speak to some people there because in that community, I have friends who were outside their church and they were put in handcuffs and arrested for what crime? Singing Amazing Grace in 4-part harmony against the rules of that area. This kind of insanity is happening not just in Idaho and California, but all over our country. And there was a woman who came up to me after I was finished speaking about the essential nature of faith and hope and love for our freedoms. And she was very upset. She's maybe 65-year-old Russian woman who is a minister at her church. And she spoke in a thick Russian accent, and through tears, she said, "Thank you for what you're saying. We need pastors, we need Christians, we need people of faith to stand up because we're moving toward the kind of policies and tyrannical government shutdowns that we ran away from in Russia. My parents, my grandparents, they were put in prison. And it all started with things like tearing down monuments, rewriting history, changing the textbooks in school, closing churches, closing schools, and making certain things unsafe unless you did it certain ways." And she was through tears saying, "My precious America, people need to stand up and speak now, or their essential freedoms will be not just censored, they'll be eliminated."
Yeah, so we have here now in the country, we've got people who are literally being arrested for singing Amazing Grace, while at the same time you have people out chanting for defunding the police, rioting and looting, and essentially they're not touched. Something certainly seems very wrong about that. And tell us, Kirk, I know as you look forward to the holidays, you and I were talking about this. It's obviously an incredibly important time for people of faith. They want to bring their church communities together. They want to bring communities of faith together. They want to come together with their families. Yeah. But even those holiday gatherings, it sounds like politicians are actually starting to restrict.
Well, just listen to how crazy this sounds. So I was just reading the government webpage wherein the new guidelines say that for holiday gatherings, any kind of gatherings, by the way, including Thanksgiving and Christmas, I have 6 children. And according to the guidelines, no more than 2 of my adult children can come to my house to have Thanksgiving with me inside my house because that's too many families gathering. And in fact, if they want to come, we all have to be outside and put the turkey out on the back patio, and we need to try to pass it to each other sitting 6 feet apart with masks. And by the way, Christmas carols, we got to sing those only outside with a mask at or below a speaking volume so that we don't spread this killer disease that has a 99.97% survivability rate. It's just getting to be crazy. We're wondering what kind of draconian measures does an American governor put on his people? There's much more sensible ways to deal with what's going on. And if we don't stand up now, we understand that this leads to the removal of essential freedoms and the Constitution and everything that we hold dear as Americans and people of faith.
Yeah, it's actually so absurd that if it weren't happening, you wouldn't believe that it could happen, that the government would be in there regulating how you hand a turkey back and forth with your family at Thanksgiving. You wouldn't believe it.
And the list goes on to disposable single-serving containers and everything else. And, you know, you're right. If you had said this 6 months ago, 8 months ago, that we would be here, you'd say, oh, that's a crazy conspiracy fairy tale. But yet here we are. Yeah. And so what do? I'm listening to people who come from socialist countries through tears telling me, turn around, wake up, because you're running into the very problems we ran away from.
Well, and Kirk, what I like always about what your approach to this is that you don't just complain. You actually bring people together to do things. Tell the audience a little bit more. You touched on it briefly. A little bit more about what you're doing at nonessential.live.
So a group of influencers and I, including Dinesh D'Souza, Charlie Kirk, Sissy Graham Lynch, artist Danny Goki, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Rob McCoy, and others, American Frontline Doctor Dan Erickson, we got together and 6,000 people voluntarily came into a church to worship God freely, to sing and make a song and a joyful noise and talk about what's really happening in America, and not just bring up the problems, but bring solutions to the table. And ultimately, that is going to focus us like a laser back to personal responsibility and turning our heart back to the Judeo-Christian values and the faith that blessed us so much, and getting people to vote. So we want millions more people to watch Non-Essential. And you can do that easily by going to nonessential.live. And you can even sign up to attend one of the non-essential peaceful protests happening all across the country.
Yeah, and so in the last 20 seconds that we have, Kirk, again, people can go out to nonessential.live, and if they want to take action, they can join you there. Is that right?
That's right. Just like Walt Disney said earlier, intelligent or actionable intelligence is all about not just talking, but starting to do things. And that's what we can do. You can join or even host a non-essential peaceful protest, and you can bring this kind of content to your community, your friends, and your family. And a great thing to do is just watch the program. You'll be blown away. You'll be standing in your seat. You'll be cheering. And this is the kind of thing that I would want someone to make. And so I went ahead and made it with my friends.
We appreciate your leadership on this. Thank you for standing up for freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and people of faith. Folks, that's Kirk Cameron. We'll be right back.